Food services first.
Is it an agenda?
No.
Okay, food services first. That's all I know. Good luck.
At this time, we'll go ahead and start. Zach White, is he in? Mr. White?
He's awfully quiet, I would say.
We go check him. He's timing it. Thank you. Well, we'll.
I got it, Doug. That's all that matters.
I did too. This wasn't funny.
He's counting on us being late, I think.
Hey, well, we can actually pivot. Jake, can you go ahead and we'll go with our alternative school presentation? Thank you. So while Mr. Quiet is coming over, and we'll go for our alternative school presentation. At this time, we'll have our. No, we're switching gears. We're gonna have Mr. Eric Chandler, Krista Henning, and Brian Hammontree come and present to us about our alternative programs here in Elkhart Community Schools.
Hello, esteemed board, Dr. Huff, sir. My name is Eric Chandler, and I am the principal of the one-of-a-kind Pride Academy. Do I have control of them? Oh, well, all right. Okay. The Pride Academy has been in existence for 4 years. We were, excuse me, Elkhart Community Schools had 3. We took it over because we had a contract with Basher at the time, and we took over the Basher program and combined it with the 3 special ed ED rooms within the district from Hawthorne, Eastwood, and Beardsley.
Can I ask you a question? Sorry to interrupt. When you say ED for this, if somebody is, can you explain to them what that is?
Yep. Students with emotional disabilities.
I thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And so we decided after we had a group of people, Dr. Higginson, Tony England, Lindsay Brander, myself, and Brian Hammontree, started in 2018 looking around the state, trying to find what a program here could look like. And so then in the spring of 2020, it was decided that the program was going to come to fruition. At that point in time, I was the principal at Hawthorne, and then I heard that this would be coming about. I applied, and then the Pride Academy started out at Bristol for 3 years, and this year we finished up at Mary Beck. So there we go. Pride. The mission of the Pride Academy is to foster a paradigm shift that cultivates an innovative mindset for students, staff, and community to bring safety, structure, and a sense of belonging to every student and classroom by uniting educational neuroscience with power of teaching. The vision is a place of innovation, safety, and belonging. So at Pride, we are K through 5 now. We were K through 6. Our first 3 years, we were K through 8. Okay. We take students from all 13 elementaries. They get referred to us, and I'll talk about that a little later, how they get referred. And they are students who have pretty extreme behavior issues, lots of eloping. I'm going to say defiance, but I'm going to be a little more elaborate, where it can be physical violence. It's not just the average, I'm not going to sit in my seat. And so we work with them to try to regulate themselves and figure out what's the best interventions they can use so they can stay in the classroom. And the goal is once they come to Pride, we help them get acclimated and then also start liking school again. For a lot of our kids, they just had traumatic experiences in the school that they were at. And so we try to get them to love to learn again. And so that's what we do a really good job of. This past year, one of the students on our left, we, instead of like regular awards, we had the Pride chain. One of the students, he got the P for persistence. The 2 adults on the outsides, Elvira Antonio and Joseph Temple, they were our distinguished staff members. And then Andrea Yeager, our special ed teacher, was the teacher of the year. And then for the adults, for staff morale, we had every Friday we had the And Then Some award. Whoever did more or worked and helped, whether it's other adults and things like that. And we would always say they went above and beyond and then some. If you ever watched The Last Boy Scout, that's where it comes from. So 90s reference, sorry. Here's a picture worth 1,000 words. Here's some of the adventures they went on. They went to Biztown, the apple orchard, using fractions for our recipes, lesson about social emotional learning with the spider web, giving out compliments and trying to figure out how that works to, contain the web to make it still stronger, because a spider web initially is one of the strongest things on earth, but trying to have the class understand how that works out. Our attendance over the years, when we first started, there are a couple factors with it. Us being out at Bristol, parents saying, hey, they missed the bus, we're not bringing them, things like that. So our attendance was a little barely over 80%. But as you can see, it increased every year. Yeah. And then this last year, I think was kind of really interesting. The 5th and 6th grade classroom was at 90%. And so that was something that was really good. They were very, very much there. They were topped out at 11. The breakdown for the classrooms, we have K through 2, then 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. That'll change a little bit going into the fall. And so with the 4 gen ed teachers, we have a paraprofessional in there with them as well. So we have 2 adults in there. We try to keep it close to 10 in each classroom, but sometimes with behaviors and things like that, with the 3rd and 4th grade room, at one point in time, we had 14. That was a bit heavy at one point in time, but towards the end, that room ended up actually having 12, and it was, Mr. Wheeler did a good job with that towards the end of the school year. The PLC process, everything that Pride does, we try very much to stay on track with the other 13 elementaries. We use the pacing guides. We tried very much to focus on phonics all through K through 6. That was the big goal for us this year, because I know one of the big things for the district is the test scores and making sure iRead was where it needed to be. The thing that I talk about with anybody who's ever been to Pride or wants to come hang out at Pride for a day, our kids, it is very hard for them when it comes to taking a standardized test on an iPad. Test anxiety is a real thing. I've had multiple kids, whether it is them tearing up my office. This past year in the spring, it was the practice test, and my office hadn't been rearranged like that all school year. So when it gets to things like that, when we talk about the data later down the line here, I just want people to understand, like, it is almost like a day treatment program. It's the only one like it in Indiana, but there is also big gains that we get from our students that is not necessarily in the data points. And so, like, for K through 2, the curriculum, we did Foundations, My View, follow the pacing guides for the district. And the big thing with that is when our students, and it's time for them to have, like, say we're talking to FISA and it's time for them to go back, we have to be able to show them that they are still on pace with their former classmates, because we still want them to have that connection. Kindergarten NWEA, even though, like, if you look at the bottom 2 from fall to 2024 to spring of 2025, even though the growth is not what you see in your traditional classroom setting, the growth was still there. And that is something phenomenal that we look at for our students, and always trying to discuss with them what that looks like with that achievement.
Explain this chart to me. Because
Yes.
I don't understand it.
Okay. So I'm going to start with the top two. So you had the RIT score for the fall, and then for the spring, there's like emptiness. So those kids actually went back to their home school. So that's why there's nothing there. And so, like, in the middle of it, that is like the average, like, that is where you want them to try to land, hopefully. But usually it is more with the right, which is like where, no, wait, hold on. Sorry. Nope. Scratch that. You want them to be on the far right. And so our student landed on the far left. And then the mean is like where the average is. And so we want them to try to be in there a little more and higher. I'm not sure if that even made sense, but I apologize.
So what you're in this, so it's showing that they didn't meet projected growth, right,
Yes.
under the student.
Because you'll look at like the growth index, like they're -3, the
Okay.
one student, then -12, instead of it being like flat out or a plus sign.
So does that growth index mean that they decreased? That they were below even where they were to start with? So there was less growth. I mean, there wasn't any growth at all. They lost. Is that what that -3 and -12 is saying?
So for kindergarten, that means they're lower than the standard average. So they may have grown from this fall of 2024 to the spring, not the 140 to the 158, like they grew that route. Do you see what I'm saying on the far
Okay.
left? But for the average, for the national average, they did not grow like at what, say, the national average should be.
May I follow up for
Yes.
clarification, Ms.
Absolutely.
Bonavella?
Yep.
So I'm going to look at the student who had a 143 RIT score in the fall of 2024. Again, I don't know who this student is, but what that is saying is that student is finished at 12th percentile. So every student who received the score of across the nation is because it's a norm reference test. They projected them to grow 21 RIT score, increased by the RIT score by 21. I don't want to say points because that's not really accurate. But 21 points, we'll say for this area. So this student went from 143 to 161. Did not make their projected growth for that year. So if you go across all the way to the growth index, they were projected to get 21. They only grew 18 points. So it has a negative growth. They could grow in the classroom, but they did not meet what every other student who had that exact same score, who took this test within that exact same window, they didn't have that same level of observed growth.
Okay.
And so the observed growth was a -3 for that year.
Okay.
So and then there's a standard deviation error that's in there, and that's where that no and that plus sign. So that child, if they took this test 100 times, most likely would have fell within that range of 150, 158 to 164. So that's why this student, you could consider them, hey, making typical growth, a year's worth of growth. Does that help with that
Yes,
explanation?
thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
and for the second one, that was what I would have a little bit more questions, where it's coming in really low at 131. That is where we would expect beginning kindergartners to come in. I don't know the age. What grade level is this?
Kindergarten.
This kindergarten. So that student came in at 131. Finished the year 141. Well, kindergartens are expected to leave roughly around a 150 RIT score. That student was expected to grow 22 points, 22 RIT score growth, or RIT score growth supposed to be 22 projected growth. They finished at 141. For all the kids who start off at 131, kindergarten, you really should be growing a lot at that grade level. They didn't here in this aspect. You see 22 as should be the projected growth. They grew 10. If you go to the right and see the growth index, it's -12. That, no, that's not.
Okay.
So we have to do a lot of catch-up work with this particular student. And if you go to the right, the conditional growth index, that is saying that student compared to anyone else who's in that, anyone who is in these type classroom settings actually had a -1.64. Actually, growth went backwards for that individual. So that's why it's very important to know your conditional growth index, because that's based individually off that classroom, and your median and your RIT score and your ranges, or hey, how do we keep making sure that our students are performing with like students who are at that particular score. Not necessarily in that classroom, that particular score. So I'm comparing students who are 141.
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
hopefully that provides some additional
It
context.
does.
there.
Thank
Okay.
you.
No problem.
Appreciate that.
No problem.
Thank you. And so first grade, you can see very similar growth patterns, and Dr. Huff did a fantastic job putting that into perspective for these first graders as well, with a -3 with the growth index and then a -12. And then for second grade,
And just so people have some context with second grade assessment, that goes from a test in kindergarten, first grade, that's read out loud to a student. And in second grade, it is not read out loud to students. I'm assuming it's the same way that Pride. So you typically will see if students have a little bit of drop as they make that transition. And that test is also a little bit more comprehensive and much longer than the K-1 test. But I'm gonna turn it back over to you, Mr. Chandler.
and so for the third and fourth grade curriculum, using my view and the district pacing guides, strategic interventions with my group, my small group, and UFly is another tool that we use with the small group interventions, with the base of using and looking at CVC words, especially in phonics. So I read this year. The previous 3 years at Pride, we had 0 students pass. This year, we had 5 in-house, ranging from second grade to fourth grade, and then 2 more students who graduated from Pride recently and then had passed at their home schools, which was very exciting for us. Very exciting for us, being that that was something that happened for the first time for us. For our fifth grade students, they increased in both math and ELA, except for 1 student. Although we did not have 1 student pass, I learned this year, the scores did increase. I think that's another thing too, when I talked about the 5th grader earlier, the issues of test taking and those kind of things are still like something that is really big, especially when, as you can see, some of the gaps there are and the amount of time like they've missed from school, whether it be from them coming with us or whether it be previously before they got referred to us, whether that's from suspensions or things of that nature. So that's a big deal when it comes to testing and trying to fill in those gaps. Our MTSS process, we have monthly meetings with every school. And then some of our behavior sheets, we watch very closely. So like say we have the teacher teaching, the para is helping assist whether their behaviors or things like that. And then they mark down like what behaviors they're seeing, like the areas concerned, the desired outcome, and some of the things of the nature. And then once we get all this data fulfilled, then we go into further the MTSS process. Mess this up. Oh, thank you. And then, so we have, each student has a behavior tracking sheet. And then, so the goals are like that. And then over here, we have the goals and strategies. And that is a big PowerPoint that we share with everyone. And then all the different goals and strategies that we have. And then the entry and exit criteria. This would be something that could probably be revamped over the summer, because this was done 2 summers ago with Shirley Elliott and Tony and myself. But the biggest thing I wanted you guys to see was when it's time to refer a student to Pride. they fill out a Pride alert. And so this form comes to Ms. Brander and myself, and then they fill this form out, and they have to have all this information for us. And then we go to their MTSS team, and then we talk about first, what kind of data do you have? What interventions have you tried? And then as we go the next step forward, 3 to 6 weeks data after myself or a transition coordinator observe the student in class and see how we can help first before we make the final decision if they are going to come to Pride or not. And so that has been one thing that I think has helped tremendously in trying to figure out like what is the best case scenario when kids come to Pride.
A parent component in this process, and when you're meeting with, you're working with these kids. Obviously, there's a lot of things that are being done to help them be able to be productive in a classroom and learn in a productive way. So, how do you bring the parent in, because people are asking them to go into this program? It's a specialized program. So what's the commitment from the parent aspect to make sure that their kids are getting there, and how are you working with them so that these the things that you're doing can be reinforced at home and the support can be given so that this child can get back into a regular classroom if that's the path that works best for them?
But let's say, for example, Cleveland is going to want us to look at a child. So I make sure to tell them, like, you need to have the discussion first that you're thinking about referring them. And then if the next step is like having a conference and say, hey, the next step after this 3 weeks is like, we're going to need to have a conference with Chandler from Pride to say, like, here are the next steps. Once that happens, like, introduce myself, I explain to like what we do at Pride. And then usually 9 times out of 10, the parents on board because they're just looking for answers. Then we talk about, like, we have a good partnering relationship with Oaklawn and Bowen for skills training and having them come in. I explained that our social worker is heavily involved and explain, like, on Mondays, we have another social worker that comes in for individual sessions. And just, it's usually a really good working relationship. Letting them know, like, we're going to try our best to keep them in school, but if they're a danger to themselves or others, or if, like, say they're trying to elope from the building or things of that nature, then we have to talk about, like, next steps. But usually it's a pretty good cohesive relationship. There are some parents who have not been okay with how things have been handled, but some of the Pride Academy practices and PDs, we do a lot with social emotional learning, a lot of trainings on it. I have some handouts to pass out to you guys in a little bit. Oh, no. Okay. Well, you guys can click on that part later. We talk a lot about the zones of regulation as well. And basically, that's just students talking about where they're at, whether they're red, green, blue, or yellow, and those are broken down for them. We have a zones of regulation room where they can go and take a timeout to regulate themselves, because sometimes they just, like, we have lots of kids who just need to get that energy out, working on, whether it's jumping, doing a puzzle, kinetic sand, things of that nature. And, we have some kids who just need to easily say, I am mad. And that's a room where you can go in, and if you need to scream it out, you can scream it out. And then, 5-10 minutes later, come back to class. And for some kids, that is the best place for them. And then they can go back and handle their business. Every staff member is trained in crisis prevention and intervention. For us, de-escalation is the key. One thing that I've tried very hard to explain to every person on staff, it's all about your tone of voice. Because a dysregulated adult can't regulate a dysregulated kid. And so if you have a calm voice, that helps tremendously. And so getting them to understand that, because if you're heightened, they're going to be heightened. That's just the way it is. And I can give you multiple examples if you come at them like that. And it's just remembering too, they're kids and they're going to bite back. They're going to say nasty names. They might spit on you. They might kick you. It's all happened at Pride before. So you just got to figure out how to let it go and keep it moving. And these are some of the books that we've done book studies on. I highly recommend What My Bones Know for anybody who's had any kind of trauma in their life. Fantastic book. And then I would also highly recommend That One Kid for the first 2 years for Pride. That is a book that we definitely talked about from Brian Mendler. And we actually did at Back to School University 3 summers ago. Jamie Ingen, Emily Zickus, and myself did a presentation for some staff members about it, and that PowerPoint is all in here. Also, the book Becoming the Educator They Need is also a fantastic one for anybody. I think that's all I have. I can pass out some of the things we work on for where we talk about the behaviors and their struggles and things like that.
It's a quick question.
Yep.
How many, maybe I should know this, but I don't, but how many students do you, on average, do you normally have any given time?
40.
40?
Yeah. I think we ended the year with 37. At one point in time, we had 44. That was around February. And so it usually fluctuates anywhere. The start of the year, we'll probably have 32 because 6th grade's gone. So it's going to be interesting.
What's the average duration of stay?
It depends. We've had some kids who have been there the entire 4 years. And those kids, in all honesty, I don't see them going back to a traditional setting. I've joked with Brian before, you'll see them because and the parents don't want them to go back to the traditional setting because they know they're not going to be successful, and they're okay with a smaller setting.
Are in-district students and how many are out of district?
They're
all in district.
Yep.
They come from directly from our school.
Yep.
And so when you say the parents don't want them to go back into a gen ed setting, so when we think about what we do with them after graduation, so they go from you to Brian, what happens then if they haven't been in a traditional setting and they haven't been able to acclimate to outside of, do we have work for them in high school, or what do we do to prepare them for career and college life ready after school?
Well, I think some of our students who have graduated from us and went on to Brian are doing half days with Brian, half days at the Career Center. I think they'll be ready.
That
Yeah.
kind of a setting is a more conducive setting for them, the Career Center atmosphere, the trades.
Yeah.
Traditional.
Yeah. I think sometimes it's just overstimulation. Sometimes it's just noise. We have a student right now because we're doing summer school at Feezer. He was with me yesterday. We walked in, he looked in the cafeteria and it wasn't even that noisy, but he's like, nope. I was like, well, you can just stay with me. We'll go get everybody ready for breakfast. It's okay. And then he was fine. He stayed in, he did everything Mr. Wheeler asked him to do, and it was fine. But it's good for our kids to get to know themselves and be like, yeah, that's not, yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Up, we have Mr. Hammondtree. We'll talk about the Elkhart Academy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
I
I thought
like
we'd just
it.
get that out of the way,
I
just start
thought
out.
right off the
Yes,
bat, I looked around, I was like, wow, I
yeah,
like it.
I had decided, sorry to get off track a little bit.
It's easy. It's here it's Brian and I. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I had decided a few months ago I wanted to cut it, but I wasn't prepared to answer all the questions from the students and the staff. So I thought, wait till after commencement, got it cut the day after. First day of summer school, I started answering all those questions and seeing a lot of the, familiar faces. But yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I was ready for a change. So yeah, I just went all out. But good evening, everyone. My know most of you, but for those I haven't got to know quite as well yet, my name is Brian Hammondtree. I'm the principal at Elkhart Academy, Pride Middle School, and our alternative to suspension program for the district. So I'm here to share a little bit about what we have going on. All right, I always start out with the mission and vision, and I think our mission and vision aligns with the Elkhart promise, right? We want to know every student by name, and not just to know their name and know their story, but to help them get to know themselves and find out what their purpose is, what their goals are, where they're going to go next. And we have a highly trained staff, not just in the area of academic instruction, but our staff is trained in de-escalation, trauma-informed practices. They're uniquely qualified to serve the students in our district that come to Elkhart Academy. And we want to prepare them for whatever's next, whether that be enrollment in college, enlistment in the military, employment. And our program helps them explore not only who they are, what their goals are, but they get to experience some opportunities out in the community and opportunities, in Elkhart High School and the Career Center, as Eric mentioned. All right, I had cool pictures. I don't know where they went. But what I wanted to share, we had an exciting year for graduation. We had 23 graduates. We will have 23 graduates by September 30th. We're chasing down some kids that still need to finish up, but they're coming to summer school. They're getting it done. They're motivated. We had 2 additional graduates from comparing to the 23-24 school year. So we impact about 3 to 4% of the district's graduation rate. We served 167 students total this year at the high school. So our enrollment hovers right around 150 students total. Sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's a little less, because students are transitioning sometimes back to the high school, or they're graduating, or they start with us a little later in the year. I put our projected graduation rate up there. It's 81%. I'm proud of that because across the country, the majority of alternative programs, and I'm not sure if the PowerPoint that I've shared with you has this graph, but the majority of alternative school programs have a graduation rate below 60%. A high end is usually in the 70s. So this year we had 81%. Last year we broke 90 for the first time since I've been the principal. I was really excited about that. I was hoping to replicate that. I'm confident we will next year. We have a lot of systems in place to help prepare us for graduation as students are entering into their junior and senior year, if we know they're going to stay with us. So I anticipate next year being back up at 90 or above. I think we're really high. I know we're a really high performing alternative high school. So I included a pass rate here. And what that means for us is students that have taken classes at Elkhart Academy at the high school. So we start out taking 2 classes at a time in person, right? So students that have passed all of their in-person classes, no Fs, right? We have 70% of our students for the 24-25 school year have been able to do that. You'll see that's an increase from 23-24, and it's a huge increase from 22-23. And the reason for that increase is we really changed how we changed our academic calendar. So rather than going by semesters, 18-week semesters, we offer classes in 6-week terms, only 2 classes at a time. So it's a little accelerated. It's almost like mini summer school sessions, a little longer than summer school, but that's, I think, a fair analogy. We're able to focus on the essential standards. We use for our core content area classes, we use many of the same common formative assessments as Elkhart High School. And as you see from the graph there, the print is really small. I apologize for that. The majority, so it looks like 73% of the standards that we covered, students demonstrated either proficiency or they exceeded mastery for those assessments. And again, we're using the same common formative assessments. The reason we're able to do that, I believe, is smaller class sizes, and we get opportunities to work with students more individually, find out where those deficits are, address those deficits right away, and help them meet those standards. I really like our 6-week schedule too, because students who oftentimes don't arrive to us on a winning streak, they get to experience some wins right away, and it helps boost their confidence. So we had over 208 standards assessed. We've been using Mastery Connect, similar to Elkhart High School, and it's really helped our teachers hone in on where our students are at, because they can start with us in October, November, in the middle of the year. And we need to get to work right away. Many of them are juniors or seniors and they're credit deficient. So we need to know where these students are at. And Mastery Connect's been a great tool for us to be able to assess those students, find out where they're at, and then help bridge the gap for them. We issued, at the time that I put this together, 1,088 credits so far. It's a 9% increase, and we had over 205 credits pending for our T6 Term 6. It's our last 6-week session. And then we had even more because we had some seniors that week right before commencement come in and get some last minute credits done so they can walk. And now they're finishing up the rest during summer school. Something really exciting we've been doing over the last couple of years is organizing service learning projects. So we have a staff member that connects with some of the organizations you see here and more that I couldn't list. Every Friday, we take 14 students out into the community on a service learning project. And what they get to do is they get to find ways to give back to their community. And for a lot of our students who often don't see themselves as having something to offer to others, they get to be in that position for sometimes the first time ever. And especially with the Parks Department, the city government, the police department, they not only get to participate in the service project, but they get to learn about a career that's available to them. And that's an added component because they get to have their eyes opened up to opportunities that they did not realize were available. And it's right here in our community. And I think that's important. We've been tracking since 23. There's 68 seniors or graduates from Elkhart Academy that we've been staying in touch with. And we call them once a year and we ask them a few simple questions. First, check in, how you doing, how you been? And then we ask them, are you currently employed? How long have you been employed? Are you enrolled in college or some type of post-secondary opportunity? Or are you enlisted in the military? And one of the common factors through all of those conversations, those students, those graduates are still living in Elkhart, right? So we're helping support future Elkhart residents and I believe Elkhart leaders, and they get to see these opportunities through these service learning projects so that when they graduate from us, they're ready to contribute and they know what's out there for them to do so. I put this in here. Everything we do, it hinges on relationships. We've learned a lot, not just as a school, but as a district about the impact of trauma on the brain. And then we're left with the question, okay, we understand all these impacts of trauma, then what do we do? And research has shown that healthy relationships based on trust can help heal some of those neural pathways that have been damaged by trauma, right? Because we know, the plasticity of our brains, right? It can flex and grow and change. Relationships can help heal that. And we've found that those relationships help support students, not just in the classroom, but also outside the classroom as well. So addressing behaviors of concern, one of the main things that we had focused on in previous years are those kind of big ticket behavior issues, things like fighting, physical confrontation, intimidation. And we've been able to decrease those every year. And we're down to 30 total incidents for the school year. We had 2 incidents of fighting total. Now that's going to count as 4 on here because, it takes 2 people to fight. So I don't like that number, but the number is the number. I would like us to get to a year where we don't have a single one. And I think that's possible because The staff to student ratio helps that, the relationships that we're building with students, and the culture that students are entering into. All of our students start with an intro class where they learn our core values as a school. They learn about what success looks like at the high school. Before they even have an opportunity to have passing periods or switch classes, they spend their first 6 weeks in Elkhart Academy 101, right? So before they're entering into that, they get to know those expectations and see that played out before they just jump into what we have going on, and that's helped a ton. So something that I need to improve on, reducing suspensions. I feel like I'm pretty creative in how I address behavior, but there's more work to be done, and there's been an increase in suspensions this year, which I'm disappointed in. So I need to look at some of those behaviors I was suspending students for and find different opportunities for us to help them learn, right? Because discipline, I believe, is like an academic intervention, right? If a student fails an algebra quiz, I'm not going to kick them out of algebra, right? If a student is failing their behavior quiz, I need to find an intervention that keeps them connected to school. There were 7 less recommendations for expulsion, or 7 total recommendations for expulsion for the school year. That's 4 less than 23-24. So we were able to keep more students long term. One of the specific behaviors that we want to address, and we're going to work that into our intro class curriculum, is verbal aggression. There was a dramatic increase in verbal aggression. But with verbal aggression, I recognize that we can deal with words. When things get physical, like, you need to take time out, right? Words we can deal with. So, but it's something that we need to address so students feel comfortable, so they feel safe, and they're able to learn. Our attendance rate is another area of growth. We have 73% overall attendance rate. Something that we're really focusing on. We're trying to look at those bubble students, right? So the students that are approaching 80% attendance, how do we get them from 67% to 80, or even 90? So we have MTSS intervention plans for every student in our program, unless they have an individualized education plan, receiving special education services. So a lot of those MTSS intervention plans are focused on attendance, and we involve, all stakeholders, parents, probation officers, case managers, the students themselves. And we've seen some success with that. We've had a 95% increase in students attending 80% or more. A lot of students enter our program with attendance percentages in the single digits. So we have work to do, but I think we're making progress. And we can always grow and learn more. Some of the professional development opportunities we're providing for our staff, CPI, Crisis Prevention Institute, they help us learn de-escalation strategies. We use restorative practices, going back to looking at discipline as something to learn, right? So I like to use the analogy, if you make a mess at my house, like with my kids, if you make a mess, you got to clean it up. Right. So one way we address behavior, if you make a mess, either with your relationship, your behavior, how do you clean that up? How do you clean up your side of the street? And then self-regulation, when you learn about your brain, right? When you can identify, like, hey, I'm dysregulated. I'm not going to make a good decision here at school. I need to find ways to help regulate myself. And they can use that not just in the classroom, but outside the classroom as well. I know I spent most of the time on the high school, but I did want to talk about the middle school as well. We served 37 students. We had 13 students successfully transition back to their middle school, which I'm very excited about that. Most of the middle school students we want back at either Northside, Westside, Pierre Moran, or prepared to start at the freshman division their 9th grade year. Talking with, I don't have the exact numbers, but talking with some of the assistant principals, specifically at Pierre Moran, they said that their state reportable incidents had decreased after using our program and helping kind of give those students a restart. They've been able to, stabilize some of the environment in their own buildings. Something we're doing to prepare for the future. So looking at preparing juniors, making sure that they have some of those graduation requirements outside of credits already complete before they enter their senior year. We're trying to transfer as many students back to Elkhart High School because of the added opportunities they have. We have a smaller staff. We can't offer as many classes and opportunities. So we have 28 students at the high school that have either transferred back or are preparing to transfer back next school year. As I mentioned before, students have their intervention plans. We have 12 students starting Career Center programming next year, which is more than we've experienced since I've been in this position since 2020. And then we've also designed a new locally created pathway to help students meet the Box 3 requirement. So they'll be learning about marketing and business, which I'm excited. I think we'll get more engagement for that. And next year we intend to serve even more students at the middle school level. Last thing I want to touch on is the alternative to suspension program. So that's grades 5 through 8 students that would come to this program for either 1 to 5 or from 1 to 5 days. And then here's some just statistics about the usage of this program that I'll let you guys look at your leisure. Lastly, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, for the opportunity to lead these programs, and for the support of these programs, because I think it helps us deliver on the Elkhart promise for all of our students. So thank you.
I have a comment, and I'll be very brief. I was able to attend your end of the year award ceremony with your staff and your students. You're really making a difference with the kiddos who are there, and also you have people who were part of the program who have come back to help serve students. I was very impressed with the level of camaraderie amongst your students, and you have some outstanding teachers there as well. So I just want to say hats off to you. It always starts with leadership, and I just want to say thank you for what you do.
Appreciate that.
No problem. I just said it because you got a haircut, nothing else.
I knew.
So, no, good job, Mr. Hammertree.
Good evening. I'm Krista Hennings, the principal of School Without Walls. For School Without Walls, we take students kind of from all over the place. Students who aren't being successful in Elkhart High School for whatever reason, whether it's attendance, whether it's credit acquisition. This year, Brian and I worked really closely together, and I had the opportunity to help him with some of his students who needed a quieter place to get their business taken care of. So we try to support pretty much everybody, however we can do that. And then at School Without Walls, students, when they have finished their credits and they're getting ready to leave, we actually have a bell, and they ring the bell, and then all the seniors or whoever is there all cheer for them as they ring the bell. Some students we record it for their parents. Some parents want to come and see it, and then they're waiting until commencement happens. So we recorded that for everybody because it's something that we do. Data, looking at credits earned. In the fall, 906 credits were earned for Elkhart High School, and that would include students that have been at the freshman division, and if they had happened to end up at JDC. So we had lots of students enrolled in classes, not as many credits earned. Some of those credits students didn't finish, and so they picked those back up in the spring. Some of those classes from the fall, students actually go into the actual classroom in the spring. So maybe they weren't successful because they weren't working on the online platform, and then we put them back in the actual class with the teacher. So that's everybody, not counting the School Without Walls students, if that makes sense, in terms of what Apex does for us.
Can you talk about something? Thank you for this. Mr. Scott, it looked like I didn't want to.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
We may have the same question. How were all these classes and credits tracked in Apex?
So School Without Walls has a spreadsheet. And on that spreadsheet, it has the tabs, the names that you see on the side, Elkhart Academy, ETI, it has all the schools of study. And so their counselors put their name, their grade, whether it's credit recovery or a full class. And then we use that 45%. If a student has earned less than 45%, they do the full class. If they earned over 45%, then they can do credit recovery. Credit recovery means that they are doing the end of unit tests. And then if they pass those, they go to the next. If not, then they have to go back and do the reading to be able to catch up to where they are. And then they go on and do the final. So School of Study counselors actually dictate what class the students will take. And then School Without Walls plugs the kids into the classes that the counselor has told us that they need, whether it's credit recovery, full class.
Thank you for that explanation. Can you talk about the internal controls that are utilized within inside school walls, let's say for grading purposes? How is that mechanism monitored by yourself to make sure that not a lot of people have access to for grade manipulation and so forth?
So the only people who have access to grading for School Without Walls are myself and my 4 teachers. And then we, on that same spreadsheet that tells you, what class it is, whether credit recovery or whatever, there's a box that says student has completed the class, and then School Without Walls puts an X, and then the counselor has to upload their name in Powder School. And then every teacher, just like regular high school, regular teachers have a grade book. And so then that name is put into the grade book, say under English 10, and then the counselor puts an X, and then School Without Walls goes back in, and then they put the letter grade actually in the grade book. So I cannot get into my teacher's grade books, nor can they get into each other's grade books, but we work off of a spreadsheet.
So there's multiple checks and balances for this
Yes.
process. Thank you,
Yes.
Ms. Sin.
On here, I thought that the projected graduates that we would have were 145, and I just texted my staff a few minutes ago and asked if our number was 145, and they told me that the number was 162. And then we are running summer school, so for the high school students who did not finish and maybe had 1 or 2 classes, some of them are in regular summer school, some of them are in summer school on Apex, and then some of them we continue to track, and we'll track them up to September 30th. So we'll continue to try to get the number as high as we can with School Without Walls, using Frank Kurth, Tracy Miller, the truancy officer, Will Cody, who also goes out with her to try to find kids and get them in. And really, we get on social media and try to find a friend of that person's and hey, get a message to them so we can get them in here. And then myself and my secretary are 12 months. And then we will use our time to continue to pull them in so that they can continue to work over the summer. That way they can be done before the next school year starts.
Thank you for your level of detail and your explanation as you go through each one of these. When you talk about regular summer school and Apex classes, can you just explain for those who are not, there's people in this room who aren't in education,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the classes that they cannot take on Apex?
If they're a freshman or sophomore, they do not take English 9 A or B, English 10 A or B. All of those are in person with live teachers. They do not take Algebra 1 A or B. Most of the time they don't take geometry, but if they need it later for credit recovery, they can. Juniors, the only setbacks that they have, we don't offer English 12 A or B, and we don't offer econ and government. And we do that based on grade level, not that we don't offer it. We offer them if you were a senior, we could give you all of those if you still were deficient or you still needed those credits.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. And then this student was very important. She came to us as a teen mom. We were able to utilize the TAP program. Her father was in prison. When her mother went to prison for killing someone, she was left with no one. She was sent to Chicago to an aunt. That didn't work. She was sent to Minnesota to a different relative. got pregnant there. Then they didn't want her. She was brought back to Elkhart. She didn't think that she would make it. She had her, the worst case scenario was everything for her. We got her with the TAP program. School Without Walls has its own social worker. And now she graduated early. She moved down to Florida with a grandpa, and now she is in the military. So, everything I got goosebumps all of a sudden. Everything totally worked out for her when she came to us as a kid who believed nothing would go right. Like, she was going to turn 18 and had no one to still guide her in a direction. So I had to put her in there. And then School Without Walls, we service, obviously, any students that we get for School Without Walls. We service Elkhart High School. We service Elkhart Academy. We service our students who go to JDC. If they go to the juvenile detention facility, they also use Apex. We try to put our Elkhart students on Elkhart's Apex. That way, if they return after 2 or 3 weeks, sometimes after 2 months, where they're not going to be able to necessarily hop right back in and still earn a credit, they can then come to School Without Walls, and we keep them for the remainder of the semester, and then they can go back out and join their peers and be back in the regular setting. And then homebound, it has been hard to find homebound teachers, and so School Without Walls and Apex have become some of the homebound teachers for those students for whatever reason they are on homebound. With Apex this year, we also bought as a district from them courseware, which is another platform that Edmentum offers, because we have a school of business and a school of human services, and we also needed to offer some hospitality management. Those classes are classes that were being offered out in the regular setting, at regular Elkhart High School. Some of those students were not passing those classes and or being gone for periods of time, and so School Without Walls learned a new program, courseware, in order to be able to offer those pathways and allow students to be able to continue to earn the boxes and check the boxes that they needed. We're actually meeting with Edmentum again in a couple weeks to be able to continue to look at the new pathways as the state requirements are changing. They continue to change with it, and so we may be able to offer some other parts to continue to help Elkhart High School and the pathways as they change as well. And for me, School Without Walls, I offer it. Everybody come check it out. We're willing to help. We're getting out in the community. We're working with, different churches to try to help us. Students always need snacks. And so we're always trying to figure out how to make that happen. We've actually had some donations that will be taken over to summer school tomorrow. So School Without Walls is always there to help and try to do whatever it is we can.
And thank you for everything. A fantastic presentation. Appreciate the data-centric portion of your presentation. Very, very well done. Thank you. Mr. Chandler, also thank you for your presentation as well. Does the board have any questions?
Questions? Great job.
Great
Thanks
job.
for information.
We appreciate you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. And now, Mr. Quiet, we didn't do.
Good evening, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff. Thank you for your flexibility. Thank you to my colleagues for their flexibility as well. Take a few moments to talk through some of the, on their board packet tonight, we'll be asking you for or recommending the contract with the food service management company. And so we'd like to talk through a little bit of those considerations, kind of how we got here, some things that we really wanted to hold important, how we selected the vendor through your RFP process, and then next steps of what that's going to look like, and allow you guys to ask some questions if you have any when we wrap up. But to start, I think it's important. We went into the start of this school year transferring just under $500,000 from a rainy day fund to bring our operating balance back to zero in the food service account. We moved to district-wide CEP, which was, we anticipated increased participation, and we did see that. It raised our revenues by close to $800,000. We also joined the NIESC, which is a co-op that allowed us some purchasing power. We thought that we hope to see some improved purchasing power and drop down some of those costs. I think We saw some, but not to the effect that we had hoped to see. I credit to Pam and her team. I think they were doing a wonderful job with purchasing the way they were. As we've gone through the year, have continued our cash balance has not been positive. We've continued, Pam and her team have worked to move that into the right spot, and we just haven't been able to get it there. And so we said we need to look outside. We need to figure out how we get this under control from a financial standpoint. But we know Pam and her team have been wonderful, loyal, and served our community very well. So this was a tough decision as we move through this. And so we wanted to make sure that anybody that we worked with, we would continue to provide the best meals for our students. We know how important that is, day in and day out, these learning environments, that they have healthy, nutritional meals that they're excited about. We've got a large food service staff. We want to make sure that we honor them and their hard work, and make sure that they have opportunities as well. And then the third and last point was we just need to have a sustainable financial future for the food service department. We can't continue to support that with rainy day or operational dollars to keep that afloat. And I think it's very important to remember, and we've reminded our food service team as we've gone through this process, that there's no company that we would work with that's going to come in and with their own workforce, right? They need our staff. They need our dedicated employees that have that expertise of working with our students, our families, our teachers in the buildings, if we're going to be successful. And no company would have put a proposal together that said otherwise would be successful. And I think that's important to remember as we talk through this. Our staff is important, and we want to make sure that they have opportunities in this process as well. So we put out an RFP. We worked with the Department of Education. There's a very strict process around this RFP process. It's federal dollars, and so it's mandated pretty rigidly. These were the 8 factors that we weighed in the RFP process. So cost would consider their food management cost, management and consulting cost per meal. And then it also looked at pro formas that these companies, we had 6 altogether respond to this RFP. And they projected revenues, they projected their expenses, and projected a bottom line of what we could see as a district. They all approached it a little bit differently, and we felt that Chartwell's, who we will recommend to at the board meeting, came back with the most realistic numbers in terms of the margins and the things that they used. They looked similar. And so we felt comfortable there. Financial conditions really just evaluates the balance sheet of the organization, right? We want to make sure we're working with a financially sound organization that's not folding up in a year or two. The registration piece is really just making sure that they're registered with the IDOE as a food service management company, and they have all that documentation behind it to support that. Personnel management, this was a big one for us. Again, we talked about our people. We wanted to work with a partner that gave us the flexibility to honor the work and time that they put in. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Chartwell's also provides really wonderful opportunities for professional growth. They not only serve 100 districts, 700 school districts across the country, 45 in the state of Indiana. They also come from, they're part of a very large organization that has opportunities outside of food service or maybe with different organizations. So whether it was, you want to remain as you like working at Elkhart schools because you're on the same schedule with your kids and it allows you opportunities to be involved in the district, you can do that. Or you wanted an opportunity to grow and become a chef and do some different things. It also has those sorts of pathways. And we think that's a really wonderful opportunity. Or if they want to grow within Elkhart Community Schools, they're still here within our walls and working with us day in and day out and have opportunities at the district. Experience and references, again, I talked about it. Chartwell's have 700 school accounts, 44 in the state of Indiana. We felt that was important. Long-term relationships that have grown, right? They've grown that footprint. And I think that speaks volumes when you can talk to your peers and get good references back on that. Promotion of school food service programs. Lots of different things to talk about here. Opportunities for internships for students potentially, right? We have the Career Center and a really great culinary program, so they would have the opportunity to tap into that. There are opportunities for child or student nutrition education, and so they have programs where they have a celebrity chef program where they bring in. There is one called the Discovery Kitchen that I've seen an example of, where a chef comes in and shares a simple recipe and talks about spices and how that can impact their lives, talks about healthy eating, what does good food look like, how to, simple recipes. So we'll bring a level of education and promotion of really exciting menus. I think their promotional materials and the menus that they prepare are outstanding as well. The involvement of student and staff really dives into opportunities for them to engage with the community, right? So they have family and student surveys. They will meet with our student council to kind of talk about what they like to see, how they can improve in that area, and always looking for opportunities for community involvement and support, right? So if we have an event with Food at It, Chartwells will hopefully help us out and wants to come alongside of us and see how they can and be a part of that. The farm to school was interesting in terms of how we rated this. It was interesting to see if 250-mile radius was what you look at of sourcing food, and they're projecting around 75% of that they can get local, right? So I think that's a really wonderful opportunity for our local community and to serve local food to our students. And so those were the 8 criteria that we looked at in terms of the decision-making process. I think the next question we ask is, how do we hold ourselves accountable? How do we hold this contract or this partner accountable, right? This is a big move for us, and we want to make sure that it's successful. And if it's not, that we're able to pivot. We will be hiring a food service specialist role. That their job is to be that district employee who is dedicated full-time to oversight for this food service management company. So they will be reviewing documents along with the CFO in the business office, making sure we're hitting metrics, getting feedback, providing kind of that liaison between the district and this group to make sure that all of our needs are being met there. And if they're not, how are we addressing those and getting that cleaned up? And then, monitoring these KPIs. I think number one, first and foremost, kind of why we're here is a cash flow positive operations. That's our biggest goal. We should be seeing operational efficiencies in terms of inventory management, different pieces like that they will provide on monthly, quarterly reporting basis so that we can maintain that. Again, when we talked about the involvement of student and staff, right? We'll have engagement and participation surveys, labor surveys, so we can make sure that our staff's being well taken care of. Internal and external communications between the district and also our families, making sure our families are aware of the menus and all the opportunities that are available for our students. And then I think, the transition through this is crucial for this partnership, and something we will certainly revisit as this rolls out. The transition, again, we talk about our commitment to our staff. I think there's been a lot of questions. It's maybe risen some levels of anxiety for some of the staff that's involved in our food service department. Lots of questions. I think it's important to remember that, we all have different value propositions when it comes to a job or a role. Again, some of us took a position because it had the most money. Some of us took it because it had the best hours. Some of it because it had a benefit package. And we all have our different non-negotiables and things that we're willing to be flexible around. And so as we took all these questions into consideration, you can't meet every need exactly, but we are looking at what we're calling a hybrid model. What that hybrid model means is we've got some employees who are close to being vested in the state pension plan, which is Indiana INPERS, PERF. It's 10 years to vest, and once you're vested, it's yours. You're now in the state pension, and so we're going to look at 2 years. If they're within 2 years of that, we want to honor that and make sure that they can get to that vested time. We're also looking at retirement. There's some employees that have put a lot of time and energy into The food service department, Elkhart Community Schools, we want to make sure that they don't lose out or miss those sorts of benefits. And so we're looking at 2 years on that as well, where those employees could be grandfathered in if they choose to as Elkhart employees. So those benefits would remain for them and then transition over to Chartwell's once they've hit those milestones. The other piece that we're looking at is accrued benefits. Again, making sure that the employees feel that they're not losing those things. We're looking at that from the language that's currently in our handbooks and how that's handled to make sure that we're coming to a reasonable number. But we will provide a proposal to the group on what that looks like. And then insurance benefits is another question that we've gotten a lot of concern around. We can confirm that there will be no lapse in insurance benefits if they're moving, transitioning from Elkhart Community Schools to Chartwell's. Our plan will carry them through that transition period as they move into Chartwell's. They have similar, and actually they have a large variety of plans. They certainly have one similar to ours and other options that may fit better for those individuals transitioning. Where else did I have? Sorry. They also have 401k, right? So there is a retirement plan that will be available for our employees. They offer sick and holiday and all of those benefits as well. So, and we will make sure that that we're honoring in terms of seniority, right? So your years of service here, and from a seniority standpoint, would translate, right? Not everybody's starting at 0 if they're moving from Elkhart Community Schools to Chartwell's. If you've been with the district for 15 years and somebody else has been with the district for 1, there would still be that seniority piece involved. So those are some of the things we're looking at, considering working towards to make sure that, again, we need to honor our staff in this move. And then finally, kind of the timeline, what we're looking at next. So as we look at this transition, pending some approval, we have scheduled a meeting to meet with all the employees on the 12th to talk through what this looks like, give them better information around what the next steps look like them. In July, we would just start to transition anybody that's moving, transitioning to Chartwell's, make sure those benefits are paid out, and however we've put that together. And then in August, the team would start their training to kind of the Chartwell's expectations and standards, and they'd launch for first day August 14th. So they would be ready to start service that first day, and we would continue our food service program the way it looks today. They would take that over, so this contract would start in July, and they would take over and continue that food service or the summer feed program the way it looks today. So that was my very quick overview of kind of how we got to, where we came to this decision from, some things that we considered, and what it might look like or what it will look like as we transition through this. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Our staff to be comfortable or better.
Yes, thank you. I did not mention that. Employees who move to Chartwell's will receive a 5% increase. That has been, that will be so the same.
I looked, they have, I think, actually one more holiday pay. I mean, is there the days match the days that we give off to them right now? And if the school is closed, like, what is their plan of action? Like, do they have an opportunity to make up those days or do anything if school is closed and there's no pay?
They do have more holidays. So some of our employees have holidays in the food service department, others do not. It depends on the amount of time and the hours that you work. All employees will have those holidays with Chartwell's. So that will be a change. In terms of time off, I don't know that answer. We would expect that they would, right? Just like we do today. We have those academy days to make sure that all of our employees are whole through those e-learning days. And we would have similar expectations.
Did we ever discern about Dr. Jordan in the clinic? Did we figure that out or how to navigate through that? That was a big.
We have started to look into that. Yes. So we've reached out to the clinic. We have started that initial the initial steps to figure out what we need to do to make sure that those that use Dr. Jordan, I know we have a lot of employees that use Dr. Jordan as primary care, can still have access to our clinic. We don't have the finalized plan, but we're building that. Yes.
I'm just putting this in my little language, and then you can adjust to me. So we had money, the money we spent landed us in an area that we were in a deficit. We tried desperately to clean up the deficit with the help of the team. It didn't work out well, so we chose to go with an outsource before, which was working with, what did you say?
NIESC.
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
That still didn't bring us to where we needed to be. So we decided that we needed to move in this direction because we can't really move funding where we need it to be to clean up where we're at right now. But in the event that Chartwell isn't as successful as what we think for Elkhart, you use the word pivot. So we have a way out if it's not successful. But you've had experience with them. I've kind of met with and talked to some people out of Michigan that have used Chartwell too. So it's been good for the employees. We know they're getting an increase in pay. We know that they're getting better holiday. They'll have a great opportunity to communicate on June 12th. So even though it's scary and overwhelming, it's what we have to do in this district. And even though I know that we're 2 years of looking at it, some people are close at 4 years to retirement or the benefits, you have to have a stopgap at some point. So we need to do this in order to make it right in our food service department while respecting our food service employees, even though they have to reapply that standard and what we have to do. But as a board and the people surrounding you, the commissary needs to know that we have asked a lot of questions and it isn't an easy decision, especially for me to do anything that you guys would think is disrespectful. But to do what's right for the school to get us where we need to be, we have to make some difficult decisions and hope that our people are supportive of what we're doing. In the long run, we're looking at a vision to protect you, protect our school, protect our children. So this did not, I'm basically talking to you guys. This did not come as an easy decision to me. I love you guys and support you guys wholeheartedly. And I would hope that none of us as a board would make a decision, but we've got to think of longevity for our school, for our students, and what is the best practice. And I will give kudos to Zach. This was not an easy decision. And I will give kudos to Dr. Huff and everything that they did to research this. It's going to be a bumpy road because it always is, but we have to believe in ourselves and believe in each other to get through this. So you want to take me to task, that's great. But in the long run, we have to do something that's going to make a difference right now. So I love you guys and everything that we do wholeheartedly, but know that we did not come about this lightly. We did not. Okay, sorry, it wasn't really to you. Okay.
I appreciate it, and
Yeah,
I would
for sure.
echo that. It was a lot of thought went into this decision, a lot of conversation around this, and again, honoring our employees and the work they've done. Pam has served our district very well, and she served her staff very well. She has a wonderful team, and that team will be integral in the success of this food service department moving forward. I think we can't stress that enough, is that I'm excited, or I'm hopeful to see this on the other side as that success story, and those same faces that our kids see every day for lunch and breakfast are the same faces that they see as we kind of turn the ship from a financial standpoint in the right direction.
Along those lines, how many other vendors answered the RFP?
We had 6 total. One that was interested and didn't respond. They ranged from some very large companies to some very small companies. But 6 total submitted a response.
Also, along Kelly's point, I mean, this is something that the board has met with Chartwell's. We had many questions that were asked and answered. So a lot of times I think folks look, any questions, we look around. A lot of our questions have been answered prior to this. The one question that I cannot remember the answer to, though, the retention rate for Chartwell's on an
We
annual
have a couple
basis.
people from Chartwell's here with us. I don't know if you guys can.
It was 96%.
I had 91%
96%,
in my head. So
Yeah.
okay.
And I wanted to add, you guys, that they were amazing when we met with them, and they look forward to June 12th and the questions that are going to be asked and answered. And, I wholeheartedly hope that as a staff, you guys put yourself out there to ask the authentic questions so that way it's all out in the open. so that we're not leaving anything behind, so that we're all questioning everything later or talking and not having true answers. They're willing to answer it completely honestly. They sure did for us. And they were very patient with those questions.
May I call Mrs. Carey and up to just ask a question regarding opportunities for growth within the organization? For me, I think that's important for our staff. Professional development, I think, no different than the teaching profession. So we want to make sure that our people have opportunities to grow within an organization and not stay flat. So I think who best to speak to that? So I want to just see if you can give us a very short synopsis on what are some of the opportunities that are available if I sign up to Chartwell's and it's July. What are some of the things that I could potentially look forward to by joining the Chartwell's team?
Great. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to speak on that. And one thing I would like to say is that I am very passionate about employee development. I'm very, this is just from a woman perspective, this is heavily populated by women field is, the lunch lady. And so I'm all about empowerment and development. And I would say I've been with the company for 17 years. And just to show you, I started out as like an assistant director, low man on the totem pole at Warren Township Schools in Indianapolis. And today I oversee $200 million in business in 6 states in the Midwest region. So to take me from just an operator in a building to all the way now to this, it just shows the level of development that we as a company believe in. And so that also starts with the hourly employees, because as we commit to growth as a company, we need our employees to grow with us. And it's okay if we have employees that are with us that we try to meet them where they're at. If they're like, no, I'm very happy here within my community and this is where I want to be, then we find opportunities to give them within the school district itself. If they're looking for more, we have we call it a HYPO program, where we have food service workers that are interested in possibly becoming an assistant director or production supervisor or chef, food service director, and then we start to develop them and we start offering them. We have, all sorts of online classes. We have a regional team, regional chef, regional dietitian, and then we start engaging with that and then bring them through that. And so the big thing is just giving them opportunities and experiences to that they may have not gotten before when you were self-operating, right? Many people think, oh, I'm just here, I'm the lunch lady, and I just put, fruits and vegetables on a plate. And while they do that great and they do it with love and they care about those kids, they may have other aspirations. Hey, have you ever thought about, how do we promote the school lunch program? You have that idea? Okay, let's talk through that idea. And let's try to give you a project and kind of bring that to life here within the school corporation. And then you never know, it grows legs and it could be a best practice within the company. We've seen that happen before. I would say with the 46 districts that we were speaking of here in Indiana, of those 46 districts, 14 of my food service directors started as an hourly food service worker. And so we do have very dedicated, tried and true programs for development as long as they want it. But then I have some people that they've said, oh, Siobhan, I'm good. I'm happy where I am. And I'm like, that's great. That's good too. They're passionate about serving their kids and their community every day. And that's all we can ask for as well. Does that kind of give you a little bit? Okay. Sorry. It might not have been that short. I get passionate about that stuff.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. I just have seen, just in my experience with Chartwell's, the opportunities for people to grow in that profession and not just, in your role, but like to go on to be chefs, to go out and to actually go work in the business side,
yes,
on the other side, because of the relationship back and forth. So I just want to say, when we're making these decisions, this has been a year-long process. I think last number that we talked about, Mr. Quiet, was over time was at 4.8 million over 7 years or something like that. We just cannot continue to operate at that level of deficit. So I think for our due diligence, we have to make sure that we bring in people alongside us to help us to correct and become efficient in that area. So I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. Board, as you take a vote on this tonight, I know that you've been received lots of information, and hopefully all your questions potentially could be answered during this work session.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Any other questions? Good. Okay. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
All right. Then I will end the work session. We'll reconvene at 7 o'clock for our normally scheduled board meeting. Thank you. Coming to the June 10th, 2025 Elkhart Community Schools Board Meeting. At this time, I'd like to call the board meeting to order. If you'd please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag. You may be seated. Ms. Vondervellen, the Elkhart Promise.
The Elkhart Promise. Every student is known by name, challenged and supported by highly effective staff, and in partnership with the community will graduate career, college ready, and life ready.
Thank you, Ann. Next, we have our invitation to speak protocol. We do have somebody. When I call your name, please come up to the microphone, state your name and your affiliation with the school district. You'll have 3 minutes to speak on any agenda or non-agenda item. Thank you. I can't. Chris, come on up. I was like, is it?
I don't know why I thought I needed to put my full name.
Well, that's what threw me off.
You up?
I was looking for someone very formal out there.
No.
That was so shady.
Well, it's very formal in the writing.
So I don't know why, but I put my full name. It says Chris Thomas Bartley. It's all very confusing. Hi, I'm Chris Bartley. I am a teacher at the Elkhart High School, and I am up here representing very quickly Unified Track, blowing the horn, toot toot, 2-time back-to-back state champions. Thank you very much.
You can actually say that again.
I just wanted to come up and make sure that you guys were aware and invited. We're going to be having a community celebration Monday, 6 p.m. It is at the freshman division. It's still up in the air whether it's inside or out at Rice Field. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware, and please come. The kids absolutely love it. We'll get the posters again this year, and they get to autograph their posters, and they're super excited about this. And of course, we want to say thank you to all of our supporters. Sent us well wishes, good thoughts, some staff who were able to come to the finals, and of course, Bobby Presswood and members of Elkhart Police Department and Elkhart Fire and Ambulance who were able to come and welcome us home on Saturday night. Okay, thank you.
Good, quite the achievement. Thank you. All right, we have the excellence of Elkhart, Ms. Wood.
Thank you, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff, community members. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share our highlights of the areas of academics, arts, and athletics. For academics, the class of 2025 was honored by their schools of study for academic and personal excellence. In addition, thousands of dollars in scholarships were awarded to students who support students' successful futures beyond high school. Elkhart Area Career Center's pre-nursing 1 students recently earned their Certified Clinical Medical Assistant certification through the National Healthcare Association. This achievement equips them with valuable skills for entry-level healthcare jobs and provides a strong foundation for future careers in nursing, radiology, sonography, and more. The class of 2025 has officially graduated, with 789 students receiving their diplomas. This remarkable group leaves behind a legacy of hard work, resilience, and school pride. Many are headed to college, some already holding associate degrees, while others are entering the workforce with industry certification and hands-on experience in their chosen fields. We look forward to all they will accomplish in the years ahead. In the area of arts, 6 students from Elkhart High School participated in an Indiana All-Star Marching Band, which performed at the Indy 500 Festival Parade in downtown Indianapolis. The band, made up of students from across the state, proudly represented their schools by wearing their home uniforms. Arts and Communications School of Study creative writing students partnered with second graders at Mary Daly to bring their stories ideas to life. Each younger student imagined a unique book, and the high schoolers turned those ideas into personal illustrated stories. They returned to deliver the finished books and read together with the second grade buddies. For athletics, we are proud to introduce this year's Catherine Wolf Award recipient, Elkhart High School senior Elizabeth Higgins. Elizabeth is a dedicated multi-sport athlete and committed leader, both in academics and the community. She has contributed to youth sports programs, completed an internship with the South Bend Cubs, and works as a lifeguard with Beacon Health. Elizabeth will attend Grand Valley State University this fall to study diagnostic medical sonography. We are excited to announce Max Malloy as the year's Tim Bringle Award recipient. Max is a standout multi-sport athlete and leader, earning 2 NIC MVP titles in cross country and serving as swim team captain. He holds multiple school records in track and consistently excels at sectional, regional, and state levels. This fall, he will attend Belmont University to double major in accounting and finance while competing in cross country and track. Our Elkhart Lady Lions and our softball sectional champions. Congratulations to Elkhart High School Athletic Softball, which wins its first sectional title in Elkhart High School history, playing Warsaw, score of 5-0. For our future happenings, June starts the summer school and various opportunities throughout the district. June 11th will be our Tim Bringle Awards. And as always, please be sure to follow our district and school social media pages as we share each day as the excellence of Elkhart schools.
Great job. Thank you, Wendy. Next, we have the consent items on the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any discussion?
Yep, with a total of $6,500 from our community, we have donations from the following companies. Each of these donated $500, and it goes towards the Skill USA National Event for Diesel. It's for their travel expenses. So at $500 a piece, we thank Jeff Dodge Racing, Diamond Equipment, Frederick Roman, and Simon's Concrete and Excavating. And then we had 2 donations that went for the Elkhart High School National History Day, National Qualifiers, and their travel expenses. At a donation of $2,500, we thank Welch Packaging, and at $500, Brian Bailey. The Tri-Kappa donated $1,000 towards Pierre Moran's Bring Change to Mind Club, and our volleyball team again received a wonderful donate from Heart City Toyota of $500. So $6,500 from our community. Thank you, Elkhart.
Thank you, Ms. Mullins. Do I have any other discussion regarding the consent items? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next on the agenda, we have new business. Dr. Roush, textbook adoption.
Thank you. President Scott, School Board of Trustees, Dr. Huff. Prior to asking for approval, I would like to just give a overview of the textbook adoption process that took place this school year. Elkhart Community Schools has not adopted textbooks for a number of years, and so we've gotten out of that textbook cycle. However, this year, the Indiana Department of Education had a list of high-quality curricular materials for reading and for STEM courses. And we did choose our reading, ELA, and math from that vetted list from the IDOE. I do want to give a huge thank you to all of the teachers and administrators for giving their input to this adoption process. All of the sample textbooks were delivered to all the buildings for teachers to have time to view and provide feedback, either via survey or through a content area specialist. And then they provided that information to me. We met then as a district. The ETA, they gave me names of those teachers that wanted to serve on the district textbook committee. And again, most teachers all gave input into this entire process. And believe me, I could not have done this without everybody's help. As you can see, and as I read off when I asked for the approval, we went through a lot of textbooks. So I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone. It is very exciting to all of the Elkhart Community School teachers and to administration to have approved a Science of Reading textbook that was vetted by the IDOE called Amplify. And we will be doing this K through 8. So I think that's going to be very exciting over the next 6 years that we're all going to be using the same exact textbook company. Big hats off to Barb Kripe, Director of Elementary Schools, that took some elementary teachers and coaches to the K-5 reading textbook caravan, where again, they learned about these different, I know there was 5 IDOE approved textbooks. And then Amplify, they came out number 1 or number 2 in all the schools, and then Amplify, they came out on top. So that's why I'm asking you for your approval. Middle school math, grades 6 through 8, had vendors present, and teachers decided that Reveal Math, which is again on the IDOE vetted list, will be the best fit because of the resources for all of our students. Middle school social studies teachers agreed on the Sabas textbook as it is for Indiana. As you saw the titles of the book, it's for Indiana, so it's going to meet those Indiana social studies standards. The high school social studies teachers were able to review and decide the textbook based on their course. As you know, when you get to the high school level, they have the specific courses. And so input was given from the teachers of those particular courses. And then ELA teachers at the high school, they've used Common Lit, but we were renewing it yearly. And after they reviewed textbooks, they decided to continue with Common Lit. And so we will have actually a 5-year recommendation for Common Lit. Parents had an opportunity to review all of the adopted materials on May 22nd. So with that, the administration recommends approval of the proposed curriculum and textbook adoptions for the following subject areas. For elementary, English Language Arts; middle school, English Language Arts, Math, and Social Studies; high school, English Language Arts, U.S. Government, U.S. History, Economics, World History, Dual Credit U.S. Government, AP World History, Sociology, and Psychology. So with that.
Do you have any questions?
I just want to say hats off to you and the entire team. For people that don't understand that this is monumental. Most schools don't do curriculum across the board all in one shot. It's on a cycle. We were off cycle. So this is getting us back on where we needed to be. And this is Herculean to pull all this off within doing it this year, doing it all at once. So huge commend to you and the team for really working together and getting this done.
And again, I could not have done it without the help of teachers and administrators.
Absolutely.
I mean,
100%
it was
agree.
definitely a team effort. So thank you.
And I think it'll be great for our students.
Absolutely. That's the goal, is to get them the best curricular resources possible for our students and teachers.
Add a comment?
Yeah.
One of the things too, that the team did a really good job is making sure that we have professional development that goes along with all these resources. This is a lot of just curricular materials, right? We're talking about the books, the digital resources. It doesn't go well if it's not implemented well. So we also made sure that we're very mindful of making sure that we had appropriate levels of PD, that we're going to make PD plans with our teachers as well to make sure that they are able to implement these as we go into the next year. So there's going to be a lot of our PDs going to be reflected in all our new adoptive curriculum for the 25-26 school year. So I just want to say that was also in the forefront. And Dr. Roush, you're being very modest. One of the things that I know that you did during this process is that we used the might of the district to reduce prices for as we went through this process. I want to give a personal hats off to you that ELA, you saved us almost $500,000 through your negotiating skills. And throughout this other process, you also negotiated with every other vendor to make sure that we get the best price for the district. So the countless hours, I look forward to you scrubbing your office wall to get all that foolishness off there. But to say that this has all been done in a year, again, it wouldn't have happened without the collaboration between teachers, administrators, and yourself. But I know that you've been relentless in making sure that that our community received not only great materials, but at a very fair price for our district. So this number that we're asking for tonight is nothing compared to what this would have cost without this ladies' negotiation skills.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do have a comment or two. I always become suspicious when they name things reveal math. I seem to remember New York math, and I remember my wife coming home and saying they were having second graders decompose formulas or something to that effect. And I was like, okay, well, anyhow, I hope it really works well.
Yes.
Okay. The other question I would have is that how long have this particular curriculum been in circulation elsewhere? 2 years, 1 year, 4 years, 5 years?
I will have to get back to you on that because I do not know that off the top of my head, but I can,
Okay. And
I
then
can
my
find that out.
last
I can add some context to that. Amplify is considered to be the leader in ELA curriculum. 46 districts around the state of Indiana have adopted it. All the Marion County schools, a lot of our northern Indiana school districts have adopted it as well. And what I like about that is if students come in our district, they know they've been exposed to the curriculum. And so they're able to easily slide into our classrooms and makes that transition a lot easier. Right now it's dependent on the building that they're in, and we want to get away from that. So I believe that Dr. Roush, Mrs. Cripe, Mr. Surge, and the teachers have really been very mindful, making sure that we chose really high quality. You can go look up these on Ed Reports if you want to. If you are bored and you want to fall asleep early tonight, go on Ed Reports and look up any of these that we plan to adopt, and you'll see that we adopted pretty high quality curriculum. My vision is if we're going to bring something and put them in front of our teachers, it should be the best. And I think we proved that last year with our letters adoption, and the same thing with this. Reveal Math is what I like about it is the remediation part of it. Their Alex program, that's part of to catch our kids up, because we know that there are some deficits there in our mathematics program, and the middle school has done a really good job. They've basically just been surviving, creating their own curriculum over the last few years. And so I really am proud to say that we've actually paid a lot of attention to the middle schools this year as far as a physical piece, like transitioning, but also making sure that they have the curricular resources. And later I'm going to talk about, this is the first time that they have summer school opportunities too in a very long time. So I just think that this process has started for a long time. So to Mr. Weaver, these have been around for a while, but Amplify rates very highly. And I think all of the curriculums here, any one of them, I'd be proud to put in front of our students.
Okay, good. Thank you. My next question is that when we look at textbook adoptions and stuff like that, is there any standard out there or evidence that say, okay, now that they've been in service for a while, say, okay, hey, this school corporation used this curriculum right here, and we think and have evidence to prove that we've been able to advance our scores within our school corporation based upon the use of these texts. Now, I realize you have to do it with fidelity, in-house and stuff like that. But, as we move towards, things that are more merit-based here and stuff like that, I think that applies to our textbooks and our curriculum too, and our vendors to demonstrate that, hey, their product actually works. Okay, as opposed to, selling paper that has black ink on it.
Right. So as you said, everything needs to be done with fidelity, and I have great confidence in our teachers that that's going to happen. I don't have anything that I can just rattle off to you. So again, I can reach out and ask how other school districts, maybe school districts similar to us, how they, when they have implemented these textbooks, how they've done with their test scores. I'm assuming that's what you're asking, that correlation possibly.
That's correct. But more from the vendor side, I'd tell the vendor to say, hey, you prove to me, you document that, hey, I want to see your numbers. Okay, put the onus on them first and say, okay, hey, here's what we've been able to do with this. So anyhow, that was
if we
my
had
idea.
a vendor that could guarantee if we bought their books, we'll have better test scores, lots of people have better sales. There's no way you can do that. The book is just the instrument. It really depends on how you use it, the quality of I won't say the quality of the education, how invested the parents are, like lots of things. They can't give you that kind of information. And if they do, it's not going to be accurate. It'll be a sales tactic.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Doug.
Thanks, Dr. Roush. Let's
Thank you.
vote.
Thank you.
Really quick, we were off cycle and now we're back on cycle, and it's what, 5 to 6 years?
Well, there's really no cycle anymore just because of the fact that they did away with that. And so it was really based on what I mean, believe me, this is not over yet because we need to look at like our math or elementary math next year that will end after 6 years. So we'll have to look at elementary math. I did not touch upon the high school math either. And so, but yes,
we're looking, it's in play.
yes.
We have a
Yeah.
playbook now. So
Yeah, thank you. Yes, yes.
okay. And
So
so, yeah,
we're creating our Elkhart Community School cycle, textbook cycle.
Correct.
Yes.
and so thank you for everybody that was involved with this. I know it's a mammoth job.
Thank you. Thank
To
you.
look where we were, where we came from, and to get where we are today, and what we're going to vote on here shortly. Also, there was a couple times over this year that I came in to ask a question, and I saw you at the board, and I just said, "Well, you could wait," and I just walked out because I knew that you were engaged with this. So thanks everybody that
Yes, thank you.
was involved. It's a great job. Any other questions? Did I have a motion?
We did.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for what you're doing for our students and for our teachers. So thank you.
Next, Mr. Thorne, Board Policy 3422.12S, Employees and Miscellaneous Positions Compensation Plan.
Thank you. Good evening, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff. This evening, the administration is presenting for consideration and review the following proposed revisions to the compensation plan for employees who are assigned to the miscellaneous employee group. First and foremost is a new position titled the Food Service Specialist FSMC Oversight. Mr. Quiet spoke briefly about this position. The individual who holds this position, as he noted, will serve as the liaison between the business office and the food service management company. The position will be responsible for ensuring food service management company adheres to all of the contractual obligations, compliance with various federal, state, and local regulations regarding child nutrition programs, financial accountability related to the contract, as well as effective vendor performance in support of the district's nutrition program goals. The proposed revisions also include the inclusion of the salary range for the project director of the Full Service Community School Grant. This position, as you know, is grant funded. And finally, the conversion of the compensation method utilized for the manager of community and family engagement from an hourly wage rate to a salary range. That change will not result in any increase to the total annual compensation allocated for this position.
Questions? No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Quiet, we have the recommendation for the Food Service Management Award, Contract Award.
Yes, thank you, President Scott, Board of Trustees, Dr. Huff. As we discussed in the work session, I am recommending the award of contract for food service management services to Chartwells.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Do I have any questions? Any additional questions that were not asked or comments regarding this award? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Quiet. Dr. Huff, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Scott, members of the board, community. I'll be very brief with my comments tonight. I too also want to say a huge shout out to our unified track team. Thank you for coming up and speaking on as this is, it's nice to go back to back, as they say, right? And it was even better to be able to beat one of our neighboring school districts when it comes to that. That shall remain nameless.
Which one was that?
We're the standard, no one else. So, but I just want to say thank you. But also we had we had a lot of athletes do very well in the track competition down there. We had a few of our athletes finish in the top 10. So I just want to say thank you to the coaches and to our athletic directors and to the families for really a great weekend. And we know our community galvanizes, and we all want winners. They were winners when they left here, but it's nice to come home with a little bit of hardware as a reminder of all the hard work. So thank you to all those on the track teams. Our golf team also won sectionals the other day. So hats off to them. I think they play on Thursday in the regional. Very proud of our golf team. We have a really good chance this year. So I just again want to say thank you to the golf coaches and to those players. And then I do want also the sectional, our girls winning anything the first time. That is an awesome feeling. The best feeling, winning it a second time. And so I really think we have a strong foundation and a good team that's going to come back next year. So I think our Elkhart sports really had a good year this year. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who supported our sports program. Summer school, I want to shift gears to summer school. Yesterday was the first day for summer school. Currently, we have summer school activities at 3 of our elementary schools, Monger, Riverview, and Feezer, serving approximately Dr. I want to put you on the spot, 500 students or so, Mrs. Cripe, 500 students roughly? Maybe a little less, We want it to be a lot less next year, but it is a lot less than what we thought, but that's because our number of students who passed our iReads in second and third grade was outstanding. I look forward to us beating all our district benchmarks this year, and I think we're going to do so. And then at the high school, we also have summer school at the freshman division, and then next week our middle schoolers will be joining us as well. So this is the first time from what I understand in quite a while that we've had summer school activities at all 3 different levels, and that can't be done without also our community partners. Boys and Girls Club came alongside us to help serve our middle school students this year. So I just want to say thank you to them. Lastly, but certainly not least, our graduation last week, I really think is a huge privilege and honor to be able to shake the hands of everyone who walked across the stage. That's a rush being on stage, seeing those kids, really, some of them for the last time. You hope that you run across them again, but you're not everyone, but it's nice to make some personal connections. The kids really deserve the best, and the team at the high school did an outstanding job with that graduation. Jeff Miller, that is one of the most intense dudes on the planet. It's because he cares, and he cares deeply for the kids, and he wants to make sure everything is perfect, because you know what? On that night, they deserve things to be perfect for them. And so I just want to say thank you to Mr. Miller and the high school team, security, Mr. Snyder, for your team that's being there, the teachers who were there, who read names, the teachers who did the tunnel. When I go out and I talk about what are one of the best nights here, our graduation, I don't think anyone does a better graduation than Elkhart High School. I came here last year and they asked me, you know what, Dr. Huff, you can worry about all the other stuff, just don't do anything with the graduation. And you know what? That's an order that I will gladly follow from here to as long as I'm in this seat. Hats off to you. And Jeff, if you're listening tonight, thank you for all that you've done for our school district. You're a really good man. And so with all that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to you, President Scott.
Thank you, Dr. Huff. Do we have anything from the board this evening?
I just wanted to give a shout out to the construction trades program. I had the opportunity last week to go to their open house of the house that the kids built. It was amazing. It was awesome to see all the kids there, their friends, their families celebrating the accomplishment of that house. And that house is incredible. So it's just hats off to Brandon and that whole construction management team. You could just see just the smiles on the kids' faces and the sense of accomplishment of what they were able to do in a year was pretty incredible. So hats off to them, and it was just a really neat evening.
Anyone else? No one else? All right. Thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned.